Le français, c'est facile. Bonjour, welcome to Celine's Easy French. I'm Celine. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to conjugate in the imperative mood. So let's get started. Allons-y. So first, what is the imperative? Imperative is used to give orders or advice to one or more people. The imperative only exists in the second person singular tu, the second person plural vous, and the first person plural nous. Let me show you how to conjugate in the imperative mood. The imperative is conjugated in the same way as the present tense, but the subject pronouns are omitted. And as I have mentioned before, the imperative only exists in tu, vous, and nous. Now let's conjugate some verbs together in the imperative mood. Let's start with tu. Tu means you, and it is the informal you. So you could use tu to children or to people that you're acquainted with. Let me show you some examples. Parle plus fort. Parle plus fort. Speak louder. Finis cet exercice. Finis cet exercice. Finish this exercise. Attends-moi. Attends-moi. Wait for me. Lis plus. Lis plus. Read more. So what do you notice here with these conjugations? Well, it's the same conjugation as the present tense, except for parle, right? So the rule is that to make the imperative form for tu for regular er verb, you need to first conjugate the verb in present tense. So we have tu parles. We drop the final s, and then we omit tu. We're left with parle, and this is the imperative form of parler in tu. In the second example, we have finis cet exercice. Finir is a regular ir verb. To conjugate finir in imperative mood, you just need to conjugate the verb in present tense. So we drop ir and add is, which is the verb ending for a regular ir verb for tu. So we're left with fini, which means finish. In the third example, we have attends-moi. Attendre is a regular RE verb. To conjugate attendre in imperative mood, you just need to conjugate the verb in present tense. So we need to drop RE and add an S, which is the verb ending for a regular RE verb for tu. So we have attends, which is the imperative form. In the last example, we have lis plus, read more. Lire is an irregular verb, so to conjugate an irregular verb in imperative mood, we just need to follow the same conjugation as in present tense. But there are some exceptions, and we'll talk about that later in this lesson. Now let's move on to vous. Vous means you, and it could be the formal you, so you use vous when you want to be more polite, or it could be the plural you, so use when you're addressing to a group of people. For example, arrêtez, arrêtez, stop, finissez votre travail, finissez votre travail, finish your work, rendez les livres, rendez les livres, return the books. Écrivez maintenant. Écrivez maintenant. Write now. So again, what do you notice here with these conjugations? Well, it's the same conjugation as the present tense. It's exactly the same thing. In the first example, we have a regular er verb. To conjugate arrêter in imperative mood, in vous form, we drop er and add iz, which is the verb ending for vous. In the second example, we have finissez votre travail. Finir is a regular ir verb, so we drop ir and add iz, which is the verb ending for vous. In the third example, we have rendez les livres. Rendre is a regular RE verb. To conjugate rendre in imperative mood, we need to drop RE and then add EZ, which is the verb ending for vous. In the last example, we have écrivez. Écrire is an irregular verb, so écrire in vous form is vous écrivez. Then we drop vous and we have écrivez, which means write. Now, when you conjugate the verb in imperative mood for nous, it means let's, like let's exercise, let's go out. Let me show you some examples. Étudions, étudions, let's study. Choisissons, choisissons, let's choose. Descendons, descendons, let's get off or let's go down. Faisons le ménage, faisons le ménage, let's do some house chores. So again, the conjugation of nous in imperative form is the same as in present tense, and the verbs are all ending in ons. So in the first example, we have a regular ER verb étudier. To conjugate étudier in imperative mood, we drop ER and add ons, which is the verb ending for nous. So we're left with étudions, which means let's study. In the second example, we have choisir, which is a regular IR verb. To conjugate that in imperative mood, we drop IR and add ISS ONS, which is the verb ending for nous. In the third example, we have descendre, which is a regular RE verb. To conjugate descendre in imperative mood, we need to drop RE and then add ONS, which is the verb ending for nous. So we have descendons, which means let's get off. In the last example, we have faire, which is an irregular verb. So faire in nous form is nous faisons. And then we drop nous and we have faisons, which means let's do. Now, let me show you how to make a negative comment. To make a negative comment, you simply need to add ne pas around the verb. For example, ne cours pas, ne cours pas, don't run. So cours means run. If you add ne and pas around the verb, it becomes don't run. So now, let me show you some irregularities. Most irregular verbs have the same conjugation as the present tense in imperative mood. However, there are some exceptions. That's the case for the verb aller, avoir, être, savoir, and vouloir. Let's start with aller. Aller means to go. It becomes va, aller, allons in imperative form. For example, va dans ta chambre. Va dans ta chambre. Go to your room. So aller conjugation in imperative is almost identical to present tense, except that there's no s at the end of va. Otherwise, it is the same conjugation as the present tense. Next irregular verb is avoir, to have. Avoir becomes et, ayez, ayons in imperative form. So the conjugation is totally irregular and is very different from the present tense. Let me show you an example. Ayez plus de patience. Ayez plus de patience. Please have more patience. Next irregular verb is être, to be. Être becomes soit, soyez, soyons in imperative form. Again, just like avoir, être is totally irregular in imperative. Let me show you an example. Sois poli. Sois poli. Be polite. Next one is savoir, to know. Savoir becomes sache, sachez, sachons in imperative. For example, sache qu'il y a un examen de maths demain. Sache qu'il y a un examen de maths demain. Know that there's a math exam tomorrow. Last one is vouloir, to want. This one is totally irregular as well, so it becomes veuille, veuillez, veuillons in imperative form. This form is only used in vous form, and it's used to make a polite request. For example, veuillez vous asseoir. Veuillez vous asseoir. Please sit down. Lastly, let me show you how to conjugate reflexive verbs in imperative form. Do you remember what a reflexive verb is? Reflexive verb is a verb that starts with se, and the action of the verb is performed on the subject. Examples of reflexive verbs are se lever, to get up, se promener, to take a walk, se préparer, to get ready. So to form the imperative with a reflexive verb, we use the conjugative verb followed by toi, vous, and nous. For example, réveille-toi, réveille-toi, wake up. So we need to conjugate réveiller in two form, which is réveil without the S, of course, because it's a regular ER verb. And then we add toi, because se became toi here. Dépêchons-nous, dépêchons-nous. Let's hurry up. This is from the verb se dépêcher, meaning to hurry up. So we conjugate dépêcher in nous form, which is dépêchons with ONS, and then we add hyphen nous. In negative imperatives, however, toi becomes te. Nous and vous remain the same. We need to place ne pas around the verb and place the object pronoun before the verb. For example, ne t'inquiète pas, ne t'inquiète pas, don't worry. So here the verb is s'inquiéter. When we conjugate it in two form, it becomes inquiète without the S. To that, we add the object pronoun T apostrophe before the verb and ne pas around the verb. So now you know how to make imperatives in French. If you like this lesson, please like my video and subscribe. Thank you for watching and I will see you in my next lesson. À bientôt!